that's Missin Curfew. It's when you kind of play guilty, but you show up.
You get to the rink, you're like, oh, there's the workout for you. You're like, played 6 minutes last night. Why do I got to work out for an hour?
Scotty Upshaw in the clear, and he scores! Shane O'Brien goes to the defense of his defensive partner.
Yes, it is Tuesday, so of course we're hanging out with the fellas from Missin Curfew, Shane O'Brien and Scotty Upshaw. What's going on, guys?
Not too much. Good. Thanks for having us. Like always, Jackie, looking nice. I like the outfit.
Hey, thank you. I missed out on this segment last week, so I had to bring a little heat this week,
Nice.
you know?
Nice.
Keep up with everyone.
Yeah.
You guys are usually colorful, and now it's a little black and white. I don't mind this.
Well, listen.
Little Johnny Cash by EJ.
You know what it is? We're all business here. We're on the home stretch of the season.
That's right.
Playoff pushes are on. We got to, like, tighten up here and be a little more serious. So I hope you guys can handle that.
A little bit.
Oh, we can handle it, Jackie. We were just upset we didn't hear more about your Mexico trip, but that's okay. You don't want. You're part of Missin Curfew, but you don't tell us about your Mexico trip. That's okay.
I don't recall you asking, to be honest with you. But
Let's
hey,
talk about
well,
it
we
right
thought
now.
you'd just tell us.
listen.
So, how'd it go?
Those stories are for off the air, all right? But it was an absolute blast. I don't know why I think I am superior to SPF, but I once again learned the lesson for the 30th time in my life. But let's talk some
All
hockey.
right.
Because the trade deadline is officially in the rear view. We haven't had a chance to chat with you guys since it went past. So I'll start with the question we ask every single year. Biggest trade deadline winner was who? Who do you think?
Well, I think the trade deadline was exciting other than the trade deadline itself. There was a lot of moves leading up to it, a lot of GMs really, really busy. To me, harder to look anywhere else but the New York Rangers, adding two All-Stars in Patty Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, not just All-Stars, but Stanley Cup champions. And the one thing that stands out to me is Patty Kane playing through whether it was a hip or whatever it was. This guy did not sit. He wasn't sat for trade reasons. He played hard and was an incredible player for the Blackhawks, playing in front of his fans down the stretch. And then now he's part of the tradition in New York. And I just love their team right now. I love what Chris Drury did. So to me, New York Rangers, they win.
Yeah, the Rangers did an unbelievable job. I'm going to go with the Boston Bruins, EJ, just for Orlov alone. The way he stepped in there, you have Lindholm, McAvoy, and now Orlov. That's arguably that's three top-pairing defensemen right there. The way he's jumped in, Hathaway as a depth guy. I'll give it to Don Sweeney and the Boston Bruins for the Orlov deal alone.
Yeah, I like the Bruins as well with Orlov and with, Hathaway, I think is going to be a helpful player when the games get nasty down the stretch and into the playoffs. So I like that addition. And Tyler Bertuzzi coming in. They used that little LTR action on Tyler Bertuzzi, and he could be a helpful player as well with Hall out of the lineup and Foligno out of the lineup as well.
Yeah, like all Boston does is win, even at the deadline.
They keep
even
winning.
off the ice, right?
Yeah.
They're picking them to win the deadline. They make no mistakes this year, so it seems anyway. I will say it's interesting, right? Because I've thought about this a lot since Friday, which is like, yes, the Rangers made the biggest splash, but I said to our ace researcher, Lawrence Goldstein, the other day, I was like, when's the last time a team acquired like a superstar big fish player at the deadline and went on to win the cup? And both of us kind of scratched our heads and were like, doesn't really happen that often, right?
Much, no.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I have a feeling once we get into the postseason, we might be talking about a team that did a little bit less at the deadline, but had maybe a bit more of an effective acquisition at the deadline. I guess we will see. Everyone was talking about the acquisition of Jonathan Quick by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Didn't last very long. He gets flipped to the Vegas Golden Knights, right back into the division with the LA Kings. So we got to talk about Jay Quick, because there is a scenario where these teams could meet in the postseason.
First round.
The Pacific is all over the place.
Yeah.
How much stock do you put into the idea that Jonathan Quick could come back to haunt the LA Kings in the playoffs?
A lot. I mean, Dustin Brown got a statue 3 weeks ago, and Jonathan Quick gets traded to Columbus. To me, I was just like, what's going on here? But it worked out for Quickie. Listen, every heavyweight champ has one last good fight in him, I think. Jonathan Quick motivated, playing against the LA Kings up dog. I think it's in the back of their mind. I think Quickie has one more good playoff run in him, and it'll be good TV if it does happen.
Yeah, we spoke about this earlier on the podcast. This guy, him and Ryan Miller, to me, arguably the two best U.S. goalies in our generation of playing hockey. shorter stint in Columbus than I had, and I only had a 2-month stint there. But listen, we talked about Rob Blake and how much we look up to Rob Blake and the way he played and the way he treats his players and the history of the LA Kings. And we just hope that the conversations with Quickie when on the way out was, listen, we're not just sending you to Columbus. We're going to have something in place where you hopefully have one last run. I think Columbus did the right thing. Las Vegas Golden Knights, they just got a lot better. Adding a Stanley Cup champion, Conn Smythe winning goalie to their pedigree is exactly what they need if they want to come out of the West.
Well, let me ask you guys to follow up because you both played in the league for a long time. You were involved with different teams, different teammates. How disturbing would it have been that night? Because LA won a game that night in Winnipeg, and we saw Kopitar talk about it, and they just rallied to win, and he looked, a little bit.
He scored 4 goals in that game, and he looked miserable.
Yeah, I mean, what would have been, if you guys are sitting in that locker room that night, how would that have gone down in your mind?
Yeah, it would have been tough. And as guys that played against Quickie, and I know we know him a little bit, we respect him, and there's no 2 cups in LA without Jonathan Quick, clearly. And I joke about Dustin Brown with this statue. Brownie deserves to get his jersey retired, but without this guy, the LA Kings aren't the organization they are. So when it happened, I text Updog right away, and I was a little bit shocked. And I'm sure guys that are in that organization playing, that are not playing, that work with there, Updog, we're probably a little bit shocked by it.
Yeah, and this guy, Shane, you and I know more than most because we've left teams and we've had players leave. When you're in the NHL, it can be ruthless sometimes. You're losing best friends. Trade deadlines can be just as good as they can be great because you're adding people. You're getting rid of people. And the history that LA's had, they've had a great run. It's been 10 years of high quality hockey. For Southern California, it's been great. These guys bring in 2 cups here. So, if you see Kopitar and you see you look up and down their lineup, Doughty, these guys that have seen Quickie battle the way he has, battle through injuries, win these games, stand on his head for the city and for their team, it's tough to lose him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shock value is we saw it in real time play out that night, especially because, I think any of those core guys, it would have been very shocking. But Jonathan Quick, I mean, you could argue they don't win one of those cups without Jonathan Quick. So it was still kind of surprising to see, and I'd be very curious to see how that type of series would play out if it does, in fact, happen. Be great for us. Give us a lot to talk about.
But by the way, though, Aiden Hill has been lighting up in goal for the Vegas Golden Knights. So to add Quick gives them another experience, guys. If they all come back healthy there at some point, they'll have 4 goalies. But, that position, it's better to have that many there that can come in and play if you need them.
I got to tell you, I wish the playoffs were starting tomorrow. There's one reason that I'm glad it's not, though, and that's that we get to see more Erik Carlson. We got to go back to EK65 because we talked about him earlier in the season when he started lighting it up, and we talked about the idea of him winning potentially his 3rd Norris despite playing for just a really not good hockey team in the San Jose Sharks that is now less good because Timo Meier is no longer there. How do you guys feel now in March about the idea of Erik Carlson winning the Norris despite the fact that he's on a non-playoff team?
My view hasn't changed much. This guy's still, he's having a year that we haven't seen in quite a long time. I think no player since was Brian Leach or someone that's had over 100 and something points.
Correct.
What he's doing, it's not his fault. Jackie, it's not his fault he's on a team that's moving pieces out and trying to build up some draft picks. You look at the last 3 guys that have won the Norris Trophy, Makar, Fox, and Yossi, all offensive guys. So you put the puck in the net and you're a guy that other teams look at and they're amazed by the way you play. They appreciate what you're doing in the league during this year. I mean, he's the Norris guy, which is why DraftKings has him at -200 to win the Norris Trophy right now.
Ooh, -200. Nice up, dog. I'm going to say, Jackie, yes, he can win it. Makar's been hurt. Yossi's having a down year. That helps. But I will say this. If the Sabres or Jets get in, I believe Dahlin or Morrissey deserve the Norris. If one of those teams get in the playoffs, Carlson's having a great year.
Over
But to
Carlson?
me, over Carlson,
We're
if
fighting.
the Sabres or Jets get in, Dahlin or Morrissey, who have been Clydesdales for both those teams.
Wrong, but Eej, you go first.
Well, I just would say this, that Carlson is, I always have the rule in my head, whether it's goalies or players for the Hart Trophy or now the Norris Trophy, you have to go really above and beyond to me if you're on a non-playoff team, because there's garbage games in there along the way. He's gone above and beyond. I mean, he has been just blown away, his peers this year. I mean, he's at near the very top of the league in even strength points, I believe, right? And the numbers,
all players,
and
not just
and the numbers when he's on the ice for the Sharks and when he's not are kind of off the charts
I brought
too.
them.
But I do like that that Darlene and Norrisy deserve credit. I think they would be
Morrissey?
Morrissey should definitely be a finalist. He's had an unbelievable year, but I'm with Carlson. The numbers.
I got numbers.
You realize it's for defense too, right, guys?
Oh,
like you got to play defense, Jackie.
Hey.
Like he's an offensive. I get it, but you got to play defense, Jackie.
Do you know?
Defenseman.
He's only -6 on a really bad team.
Defenseman.
Hey, do you know who's number 3 in takeaways amongst defensemen in the NHL? Because it goes Jacob Slavin, Adam Fox, Erik Carlson. Takeaways. Is that a defensive stat?
I think so.
I believe
that's a good takeaway,
qualifies.
Jackie.
And I just tell you to tune in to Feisty Friday because I'll bring more defensive numbers for you for EK65. For now, I will prove EJ's point that he's gone above and beyond. He has been on the ice for 122 of the Sharks' 188 goals. In other words, Erik Carlson has been on the ice for 65% of the Sharks' goals at all strengths this year. 82 points, on pace for over 100. Uppy, you mentioned it. We haven't seen that since Brian Leach in the early 90s. He leads the league in even strength points, more than McDavid.
Wow.
And it's 21 more even strength points than the next closest guy, Josh Morrissey, who is having a heck of a season. But Erik Carlson has 21 more points at even strength than Josh Morrissey. And finally, I leave you with this one. Only 3 other defensemen in the NHL have ever put up more points at even strength than Erik Carlson: Bobby Orr, Paul Coffey, and Larry Robinson.
Ooh.
And Carlson still has 18 games left. Like, it is actually stupid what Erik Carlson is doing
Did those
right now.
teams make the playoffs? Put that up again. Did those teams make the playoffs that year, or did they miss? I'm not sure.
There were fewer teams, though.
Only one player.
Fewer teams, though.
There was no salary cap back then.
Bobby Orr playoffs, Coffey playoffs, Robinson playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
However, isn't it almost more impressive that Erik Carlson is playing on a team that is so bad and still finding a way to produce, not just on the power play, but at even strength? I think it makes it more impressive.
That's pretty good.
How do you put up historic numbers on a terrible team? The Sharks would be, like, probably in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes if it wasn't for Erik.
They might be happier. They might be happier.
And Erik Carlson, obviously, he does benefit or did benefit from playing with Timo Meier for a while on the power play in particular. But anyways, are we still friends, Obi, or did this just end it?
Carlson's sick. He's nasty. What he's doing is ridiculous, but you got to play defense. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm just saying that he is not as bad defensively as people, like, reputationally think he is when you start looking into the numbers, and I'm bringing that to the table on Friday.
Well, I'll just add this about his defensive play. He defends by having the puck a lot. Because one-on-one, I see your point, Obi, because I watch the games, too, like you do, and that one-on-one battle sometimes, it can be light.
Yes.
It can be light.
Very light.
But very light. But he does have the puck a lot. The best defense sometimes is the fact that he's such a good offensive player. And one other thing about those playoffs with those teams, now those teams were great teams that had a lot of helpful players around them. But there was 16 out of 21 make the playoffs in a lot of those years. It's 16 out of 32 now. There's a salary cap. It's much harder to make the playoffs now. So, to me, he's gone above and beyond.
And I believe, according to our ace researcher, only one defenseman has ever won the Norris on a non-playoff team, and it was Adam Fox in that shortened season.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen very often.
And he shouldn't have won. He shouldn't have won that year, actually. That's another story.
Tell us how you really
He was
feel.
on the right side of the river.
Oh, so
There you go.
Oh gosh, Obi. Now I gotta make sure I clip that out when I post
I
this
know.
online.
All right.
I can't take the mentions going off like they did over that conversation. But always a pleasure chatting and arguing with you, fellas. Thank you for hopping on, and enjoy the games tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. It's the highlight of our week, Jackie. Thank you.
By the way, Obi, I know you'll respect this. I got EK65 to win the Norris at plus 1,000 in November. Talk about, I'm sitting pretty.
No wonder you're so fired up about it.
All the
Just be honest, Jackie. Okay, now I'm pulling for him. Go, Carlson. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I can use the money I win off that bet to buy you the bottle of Camus when the Panthers make the playoffs. See, it all comes around full circle.